Okay, this is the end of the third turn of November 1914. The situation on the Western Front is Germans still chipping away at the Allies. They had a breakthrough. They smashed through the Allied line at Lyon, which is here. But the Allies were able to reform the line. They're still a bit stretched, but they're just ploughing in all their reinforcements, well, their replacements, into building units to fill the gaps. So it's not brilliant. The big thing is that the Germans are pretty much spent ammunition wise. That last push at Lyon was their swan song, I think. Ammunition wise, I think the Entente have a slight advantage now. The Germans still have the advantage militarily. The only problem now is large areas of the front are entrenched, and that does create quite a change in the dynamics. Not only do you get a -2 to your die roll for the attacker against trenches, also trenches, they cost an extra 2 movement points to enter a hex where there are entrenchments. So that really does slow down the mobility of units on the battlefield. The other thing is, the only way you have to retreat from a trench is if you suffer more defensive losses than the attacker does. So instead of, like in the current rule set, if you're not entrenched, you only have to retreat if you suffer half of your total force and casualties. That's a third for the Russians and the Austrians and nations with poor morale. But for the Germans and French and the British, it's actually without entrenchments, you have to suffer over half your 50% or over of your strength of your defending force before you're forced to retreat. This is Eastern Front. German attempts to push the Russians out of East Prussia have stalled a bit. There's not really much will to do anything. The concentration of all the effort is around Warsaw, which is a pretty vital strategic target. If you can take them, there's a lot of city hexes that should really, really damage Russian morale if you can get hold of them. Russians have lost Waj that they did, I think, at the last video as well. They've also lost this unit here. They've also lost that city there. And I think they've lost another one, but I can't see it at the moment. So they are chipping away at the Russian morale. The big problem, yet again, is ammunition. Everybody's short of ammunition stroke supplies. The Russians are just... their supply situation is appalling. The Austrians are only slightly better, because they've had some supply sent from Germany. The Germans in the east have got enough supply to push for a bit further. You notice the line is coming together continuously throughout Poland now, but it's very weakly held by the Russians. The Germans are trying to form a new army here, which will enable them to outflank Warsaw from the south. Basically make Warsaw untenable and capture it that way, to actually go head on against all those fortresses. You can see these fortresses here. There may be Russian fortresses aren't particularly brilliant, but it's going to take a hell of a lot of strength to batter them down. Small numbers of Austrian siege guns were returned from the Western Front, but there's not enough to really... Well, there certainly isn't enough ammunition to do a full-scale fortress attack at this stage. Galician front is pretty sort of static, though the Austrians have got opportunity to make a couple of attempted breakthroughs next turn. Situation in Serbia. One of my subscribers pointed out the huge gap between the Serbian and Montenegrin armies, so the Entente forces have partially addressed that. There is still a gap, but it's terrible terrain. It's winter soon. You can't really move fast, and the Austrians can stretch their line, but they're not going to get anywhere near Nis, which is over here, because the objective, apparently, if you take Nis, you can get early Bulgarian entry. But the Serbian front isn't really high on the list of Central Powers targets at the moment, because they know it'll fall pretty easy. So Bulgaria's coming in eventually, and as soon as that happens, Serbia's position is untenable, as far as I'm concerned. Right, you'll end up with the Salonican front opening up here, but I don't think there's ever any real chance of Salonican front becoming a serious problem to the Central Powers. Anyway, we'll see. You never know. In terms of the Turkish front, we've got the Mediterranean Expedition Force here. Now, I'm umming and ahhing with this. I've never liked the Gallipoli attack personally, and I don't really intend to do anything with it. I'll have to check to see if there are any rules that say you have to make it. If I do, I'll probably just make a feint and then sort of pull back immediately. Because the Mediterranean Expedition Force is doing a good thing here. It's tying down a lot of Turkish divisions. There's also more Turkish divisions around Constantinople. So I think it's doing a more important job just sitting there on its bum than anything else. Situation in Palestine is the Turks are gradually moving their units to the border with Egypt. The Allies have got quite a few units down in Egypt, but they're not very good quality, and they're best off staying where they are and defending the canal line. Also, if things get really desperate, we can pull in units from the Mediterranean Expeditionary Force to back them up. We go across here to the Caucasus front. Well, not a great deal going on there. It's not a huge number of units, to be honest. So I don't anticipate a great deal of activity on that front. Mesopotamia, nothing going on at the moment. The Turks are thinking about making an attack on Basra. The British just haven't got enough forces to do anything down here. We're sort of stuck in Basra, and that's where we're staying for the moment. So all in all, I would say Germans, well, Central Powers do have the advantage here, but they've not got a massive advantage. There seems to be a consensus in German High Command that we're going to go and push in the east, because there isn't much opportunity in the west at the moment, and we can certainly sort of go on the defensive there and let the Allies bleed themselves to death trying to break through. So I think that everything's concentrating on Warsaw. That's where the big battles are going to be in the next few turns.